Hey, friend. Alex here from Metamind Music coming at you again with another video. In today's video, I want to talk to you about the four pillars, the four cornerstones of making music. Before we dive into it, I want to tell you about my free PDF you can download. It's called Workflow Wizardry. It's a simple framework for you to get your ideas from your first ideas all the way to a finished product, all the way to a professionally produced song that you can release online, stream it, and put it on a record and show it to your friends and family to be proud of. So go ahead and download that in the description below or at www.metamindmusic.com/workflow. All right, so let's get into these four pillars. I want to preface this a little bit. This is a little bit different, a different approach, and it's more so kind of a fun, creative way that I like to look at music as if it's a living entity. And I just want to encourage you to kind of stay along for the ride. And I hope that I'll encourage you to become more creative or at least unlock some new ideas. So these four pillars I want to talk to you about related to music are basically breaking it into the four elements, which would be akin to the alchemical philosophy. So that would be earth, fire, water, and air. Those four elements. And all these elements I'm going to attribute to a certain aspect of music. And these elements also connect to our human self, right? To our different faculties that we have. And that's one thing that I truly feel music has that we can all connect with, is that it has various different faculties. It has different parts, different essences within a song or within a piece of music that are working together in harmony in one presence of the moment, right? Like everything in a song is working together to become more than the sum of its parts. And it's a perfect teacher for us as human beings to try and achieve the same thing within our own faculties, our minds, our hearts, our emotions, our bodies, our spirit. And this is the kind of connection that I want to make with these four pillars. So let's go ahead and jump into it. So the first one would be the earth element. And the earth element in the alchemical philosophy ties to the physical body. So it's your vessel, it's very grounded. And I connect this to rhythm. So this would be the rhythmic component of your song, or in a band, it would be a drummer. And typically the rhythmic section is the pulse. It is the heartbeat of the song. Like the kick and snare is like your heartbeat. And it is the vessel, it is the component that drives a song forward. Because if you have no rhythmic component, you'll immediately notice that it feels very meditative and transcendent, but you're not moving anywhere. It doesn't make the body move. And this is what rhythm does. It actually creates the pulse, and it is the vessel to carry all of the other musical elements forward. And it typically is the thing that makes us move. It's the drums and the rhythm that will make your body move. Like if you're playing a dance beat, people on the dance floor will physically react to the pulse of your song, and it's very connected to your body, right? So it's the earth element. And it's a very powerful way to look at rhythm, because depending on how the rhythmic pulse of the song is will dictate how people will interpret it and how the body will feel the song, right, in terms of movement. And it's used as kind of the foundation, right? Without a rhythmic component in your song, there's no driver, right? You're not going anywhere without some kind of rhythm. And it's the same thing for us. Like you're not going to move anywhere. You're not going to go experience things or live in this body without a body to go to basically propel you forward in this like reality, if you want to get super deep with it. So that would be it. Like one dynamic of music is rhythm, and it would tie to your body, and it's the pulse of your song. The next component would be the water element, and this correlates with bass. And water typically in this kind of framework is attributed to emotion. And don't get me wrong, like all of these elements are definitely intertwined, but I'm just trying to kind of talk about these different elements in a framework to make it easier to kind of work with. So if bass is the prominent role of tying to emotion, It's because it glues the rhythm and it glues melody, right? It kind of is the fluid liquid that glues liquid and melody going forward. And it's often what you feel, right? And it can be physical. It can be actually like if you go to a concert or if you're listening to super loud music and with a really nice speaker system, the first thing you'll feel is the bass. The bass will be the thing that actually makes you feel it. And that also goes for in a composition. It's the bass that will typically dictate the emotional quality of all the rest of the other harmonic components of your melodies and your lyrics and all that. It's the bass that's the root note, and it's the root note that will kind of describe or quantify all the other musical elements in your song, right? It's going to be the thing that makes everything else interpret based off the root note. And this typically I relate it to the emotion. And you can tell, like, if you're creating a song and you play around with using different bass notes or different bass timing, it can very much alter the feel of a part, right? Or if you have very active bass, it can be a very excited feeling, or if it's very laid back, it can be a very slow and somber feeling. But it's typically the bass or the water element that interfaces with the emotional center. The next element would be the air element, and this correlates to the realm of thoughts, right? The realms of the mind. And typically this goes with the melodies, right? The melodic component. And these three in themselves, rhythm, bass, and melody, is like the components of a three-piece band. And that can reach almost any kind of genre or any kind of musical. You can almost reach any kind of music that you want to achieve with just those three components. But anyway, air communicates, right? Air is the mind, and it's like melodies and lyrics communicate ideas. They're very expressive. And this goes with, like, if you're playing guitar, if you're playing keyboards, whatever melodic component in your song, it is typically expressiveness that comes as a characteristic. So if you think about playing guitar, it's how you phrase your guitar lines in forms of punctuation, like how long your phrases are. Is it legato? Is it staccato? Is it very short and excited, or is it very long-winded and long words? And all of these things very much emulate how we communicate with each other. Like if you're getting super excited, you talk faster, and you get really excited about a subject, your voice goes up in pitch, and the information of your notes or of the words you're speaking goes a lot higher in frequency. But if you're feeling down and kind of melancholy, you'll typically drop in pitch and you'll speak a lot slower. And this is all in terms of what you're trying to communicate with your air and the expressiveness of your voice. So that would be the third element in this kind of framework. And the fourth element is kind of harder to define, but it is the fire element. And in the alchemical viewpoint, it's the soul. And the soul is very tough to quantify because it's not of physical nature. But basically, I would quantify the fire element as dynamics in your music, right? It is the variation. It is like over time reaching a climax and building up to this climax, and what happens after the climax over time. These huge dynamics would emulate the fire. And it's also the humanness you bring to your playing, right? Like it's the style, the funk, the soul, like the expressiveness that's you can't quantify. It's tied to your unique style. It might be partly errors, or like it might be just the way you bend notes or express notes, and like the way you move with your music. And typically, like, you even hear it when people describe music, like they're like, oh man, that guy's got soul, like he's got feel in his playing. And you can sense it. And we've said that about music. And this would be what I would describe as the fire element, right? It's like that kind of unquantifiable answer, but it's the dynamics. It's like when you play through an instrument versus programming something with a mouse, right? There's the tangible difference of the human element, what you're playing into reality, what you're feeling into reality. And that's what I would quantify as the fire element. So within these four elements, if you can kind of look at them that the convergence of these four things is what you would want to try and achieve in sculpting like a musical experience that emulates what we are as a being. So I hope that was somewhat inspirational for you. I hope it maybe made you think of music and the elements of music and how we could relate to music in a different way. And the bonus tip I have for you, or the bonus kind of component, is the fifth element. And if everyone's seen that movie, it's a good movie. I'd check it out. But it's basically in the alchemical framework. It's that there is an unquantifiable thing that is beyond the sum of parts. It's like the unknowable, the void, the where inspiration comes from, right? The will to want to create something is something that you can't really define, but it's inherently there. It's inherently part of it, and it encompasses all four elements, right? All four elements can't exist without being converging into something with some sort of intention. And that fifth element in this case would be you. It is your conscious mind, your conscious soul, your conscious self wanting to create something and using these corresponding elements to create a structure to share with other people. So I hope that inspires you, because I feel that is truly a gift that we have, is how we can share our creations and create something that has meaning to ourselves. And I hope that you can choose to embrace that inside yourself as well. And that's all I have for you today. And I just want to remind you, if you haven't already, go ahead and download that free PDF I have at www.metamindmusic.com/workflow, or I'll also post it in the description below. And if you have any questions related to this, if you loved it, let me know. If you hated it, let me know as well. And I'd be happy to come answer any questions you have after the fact. So until next time, we'll see you later.